Hi everyone, this is SCK4110 coming to you, and this is going to be my last video on the subject of Kabbalah. Now in my first video on Kabbalah, I spoke with you regarding a man named Samuel McGregor Mathers. He is founder of the occult. McGregor Mathers was the founder of the occult order of the Golden Dawn and had several important occult texts which he translated. One of them being the book of the sacred magic of Abramelin and the Mage. Another, which we're going to talk about today, is titled The Lesser Keys of Solomon, and he also wrote a book which was titled The Kabbalah Unveiled. These being some of the most significant of all ancient texts in Kabbalistic circles. Now I also spoke with you about my thoughts regarding the origin of Kabbalah. But I found this explanation by Samuel McGregor Mathers in his book Kabbalah Unveiled regarding his thoughts of the origin of Kabbalah, and I want to share it with you. I share it with you because you won't believe your ears. I couldn't believe it when I read it. And I quote, "The Kabbalah was first taught by God himself to a select company of angels who formed, get this, a theosophic school in paradise. After the fall, the angels most graciously communicated this heavenly doctrine to the disobedient children of the earth to furnish the protoplast, which is simply an organized body of species." I had to look that up. I was like, what is a protoplast? Anyways, let me continue here. Furnish the protoplast with the means of returning to their pristine nobility and felicity. Okay, felicity meaning a state of happiness or joy. See, friends, neither Satan nor these fallen angels have a chance of returning to their original state. They are eternally damned and are going to end up in the pit. Sadly, misery loves company, and if you participate in Kabbalah, you too run the risk of joining them. With that being said, let's look at the first clip.
People who are secretly ruling this planet to this day is a science of transformation of the masses, not only a science of transforming yourself. Yes, that is true. The alchemist ultimately is doing spiritual alchemy, is doing inner alchemy, and is transforming himself. But once you transform yourself, then the goal of the alchemist becomes transforming others. And the master alchemist is transforming not only one person, but transforming whole nation.
The 72 names of God are not really names. They are merely 3-letter sequences composed of Hebrew letters taken from the Torah. According to Kabbalists, each of the 3-letter sequences serves a specific purpose, and one of its uses is to ward off, according to them, negative vibration. According to Kabbalists, Moses, get this, used the 72 names of God to part the Red Sea. 72 names being given to him by God. And later ancient Kabbalists would supposedly go on to decode these 72 names of God from biblical texts. You see, friends, what they really want is to convince the masses, the biblically illiterate and the unsuspecting, that it was not the power of God that parted the Red Sea, but the power of man utilizing secret knowledge found only within Kabbalistic circles. Now, according to the Kabbalists, the 72 names of God are the code of creation. They are the letters God used to create the world. Let's take a look at the next clip.
At roughly the same time, unknown mystics recorded a startling concept into an influential book. The text is called the Book of Creation, or the Sefer Yetzirah. It describes how God made the world by using the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet.
God spoke and said, "Let there be light." So obviously God's speech was the creating agent. Well, what language did God speak? God spoke Hebrew, of course. So the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet were the alphabet of creation.
What Sefer Yetzirah does is to try to describe how God created the world in more detail than we find in Genesis. It builds on the notion that God created the world through language, but now it's not words so much as individual letters. And this is probably meant rather literally. God took the 3 letters Aleph, Bet, Nun, which spelled the word Even, stone. By combining those letters, a stone was created. And similarly with every object in the universe, God created by combining the letters with the numbers.
Rabbis believe the teaching of the Sefer Yetzirah are too powerful for ordinary people to experience, and the details of the book are kept hidden. These mystical revelations remain underground for hundreds of years.
Now, why do they want more insight beyond the book of Genesis regarding creation? Question. Again, because they want to be little gods. It's as simple as that. Now, it is taught within Kabbalistic circles just by setting your very eyes on these 72 names that you are able to open yourself up to energy. Using them in conjunction with visualization, according to Kabbalists, it becomes a guide to healing, fulfillment, spiritual enlightenment, happiness. Oh, and let's not forget the ability to predict the future. Incantations are also used in order to accomplish magic association with invoking the 72 names of God. And according to Kabbalists, the 72 names provide a mortal human being with the divine powers of creation, meaning they instill the ability of God to the magician. But even they will admit it is a very dangerous practice indeed. Let's take a look at the next clip.
Since God wasn't coming to them, they were going to where God was. So they wanted some kind of experience of the divine. They used certain meditative techniques that worked them up into an autosuggestive hypnotic trance.
Their activities are kept hidden. The mystics warn that this practice is too dangerous for average people to attempt. Ancient legends tell of novices being driven mad, or even dying because they were unprepared for the powerful spiritual forces they had unleashed. Through meditation, the mystics believe they have achieved a vision of God like the one experienced by the prophet Ezekiel. In this vision, the entrance to heaven is blocked by a series of gates. The mystics must pass through them before reaching God. The entrances are also guarded by menacing angels who keep the unworthy from heaven. Before the mystics can advance, they have to learn the complicated names of the angels. Each name must then be repeated an exact number of times.
The mystics would wear amulets that would shield them from the power of the angels. And if they went through all the gates and they got into the throne room, then they would have this vision. They would learn the secrets.
The mystics claim those secrets help them understand God's thoughts.
Now, as I have mentioned in past videos, Kabbalah involves the summoning of spiritual entities, such as supposed angels, demons, commanding them or causing them to swear to perform certain acts or functions. Now, the Lesser Keys of Solomon is an anonymously written 17th century grimoire textbook of magic, and one of the most popular books in demonology. Now again, it was translated to English by MacGregor Mathers and edited by, guess who, Aleister Crowley. According to Kabbalists, it is an essential manual and purports to give instruction for summoning 72 different spirits. The book claims that it was originally written by King Solomon, although this is certainly not correct. The Lesser Keys of Solomon contains detailed description of spirits and conjurations needed to invoke and oblige these demonic entities to do the will of the conjurer. It details the rituals to be performed and the actions necessary to prevent the spirits from gaining control over the magician. It also provides information on the preparation prior to the invocations and instructions on how to make the necessary instruments for the execution of these rituals. Let's take a look at the next clip.
What happened was this. MacGregor Matters, who was in charge of the Golden Dawn, had translated a couple of very important books. Those books, like The Magic of Abramelin the Mage, or the Lesser Keys of Solomon, the Goetia, are books of evocation of these entities.
Okay.
But very rarely you will find people who really know how to do these rituals or want to really do them in the genuine way, or also want to risk themselves, because I mean, when the magician places himself within a triangle to evoke a demon, or within a circle to evoke an angel, or wants to do this kind of, well, obviously he's opening himself up to these forces. I remember there was a character in Oslo, in Norway, who attempted the evocation of a demon within a triangle after doing LSD. He ended up basically thinking he was an orange and wanting to peel himself for the rest of his life.
That's no good.
This, I mean, a little anecdote that gives you the idea of the dangers of playing with these entities.
Now I found on one website some information on how to use the 72 names of God. And check this out. First it states, and I quote, "To derive benefit from the 72 names of God chart in your life, simply scan the chart from top right to bottom left as Hebrew is read." You see, it doesn't make any difference, according to them, whether you can read Hebrew or not. It also goes on to say is to make this a routine, a ritual. It goes on to say to make sure that you get yourself into a still, meditative mood, a contemplative and receptive mood. Ah, yes. Of course, this too, as in most occult practices, involves getting yourself into an altered state of consciousness prior to the practice. And why? Because altered states of consciousness, friends, provide the bridge, and you probably heard me say this before, provide the bridge between the physical world and the world where evil spirits reside. Okay, so the article went on to state, simply scan the letters, read the letters, allow them to work into you, to change you, to rewrite you, and I add, to possess you. Can you believe this? Which brings me to another cult ritual called scanning the Zohar. What is a Zohar? Well, for those of you who haven't seen my history on Kabbalah, let's take a look at this brief clip.
Promises a greater understanding of God and his relationship with humans.
The Zohar really sees the Bible as a secret code. Every event in the Zohar, every bit of narrative, every biblical law is telling something not only about what happens on earth, but about God's inner being.
Kabbalists believe that if they can successfully decode the Zohar, they will unlock the mysteries of both heaven and earth.